This is episode 107, 4 Questions for Loving What Is. Welcome to Alive by Design. My name is Blake Mallon, and we're here to bring you inspiring people, principles, and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. Open your mind and let's dive in. Hey guys, before you listen to the podcast, I just want to drop in and say I appreciate you for being here, and I'm super excited about this new Walk With Me series. These are solo episodes where I take some time in the middle of my morning run through the Santa Monica Mountains to share some inspired ideas and thoughts on my mind and heart. If you want to join me for any of these conversations live, you can catch me many mornings on my Facebook page, facebook.com/BlakeMallon.page. Would love to see you there. Love you guys. Enjoy the episode. Walk with me. So I know you know that I'm kind of obsessed with this concept of shifts. Did you catch the special 100th episode? Hope you guys got some value from that, where I shared my shift list, 100 shifts that have helped me through my journey over the last 40 years. If you didn't catch it, it's definitely worth a listen. Episode 100, I wanted to do something special, put some time into that one, and hope it adds value to you and everything you're going through right now. But it's not just about that episode. I really truly believe that what I go into at the start of that conversation, the understanding that we get to choose in any moment, in any instance, in any circumstance, our perspective, our thought. And in that choice is our power. In that choice is our freedom. In that choice is our results. In that choice is our ultimate feeling or happiness. And so the ultimate game of life is just learning the power to have awareness and the power to make those shifts so we can forever move in a direction that's best for us. And that's something I don't think anybody ever masters. I don't think there's a such thing as perfection. We talk about that shift, but it is about continuing to improve, continuing to do the work, continuing to make progress on how to constantly make those shifts. So with that in mind, and always top of my mind, I'm always listening for different sort of tools, right? Or tactics or methods that can help myself, right? Selfishly, help myself, help people I love, and ultimately help everybody I can share information with to make those shifts. So I got recommended a book. I'd actually been recommended it a couple times, and I finally downloaded it and started listening to a book. You might know the author, Byron Katie. The book title is Loving What Is. And I'm not all the way through it, but I'm loving the concept, and it's so in alignment with our recent conversations. And the premise of the book that I want to share, at least in today's conversation, is 4 questions. Really a framework that we can use to help ourselves make those shifts. So I want to share those 4 questions. Super simple, but I think they'll be very valuable. I've already started implementing them into my life since I started reading the book, and I felt inspired and compelled to share with you all. So with that, hello y'all, let's dive in. So I said these 4 questions, and she doesn't define it as this, but I'm going to call it how I see it. It's really a shift framework. It's a 4-question framework to help us help those around us, but really a framework that helps us help ourselves, an internal dialogue that we can have whenever we need to make a shift away from a thought that is not helping us, right? A thought that maybe is hurting us or pausing us. I'll apologize for the wind. It is a windy day. Hopefully you guys are hearing me okay. And as you hear the wind, can feel the breeze wherever you're at. Hopefully it calms down here at the top. And the whole book, at least so far, is really around understanding these 4 questions and learning how to implement them, make them habit in our own internal dialogue. So I'll start by just giving you the 4 questions. So these are things you might want to pause and write down. I did when I first heard them. Question number 1, when you have a thought and you want to go into kind of an inquiry, want to go into a little self-reflection and evaluate if this is serving you. Question number 1 is that true? Is that true? As in reality, right? Is that true? And it sounds like a really simple question, but that one alone peels back the onion, puts up a mirror, causes you to pause for a second, say, wait, before you just run a story in your mind, sometimes one that's been stuck on replay for too long. You interrupt that conversation. Is that true? Like in reality, is that true? And there's only a yes or no answer. This isn't a yes, but, no, but, while sometimes, It's just a real simple answer. Yes or no. Is it true? And neither is right or wrong, and neither is better or worse. We're just looking for reality in this scenario is that thought true? Second question, do you know or can you know that it's absolutely true? Yes, the second question is kind of a deeper version of the first question, right? Can you know that it is absolutely true? And it's funny because those two questions get past that ruminating autopilot, that stories that we get stuck in, that sometimes we keep telling ourselves over and over and over again. And at some point along the way, we stopped asking, like, is this even true or not? And it becomes our truth because of the references that we're creating, because of the story we keep telling. But if we are able to stop and go, is that true? Can you know? Is there a way to even know that that's absolutely true? And the rule with these two questions is we got to be brutally honest with ourselves, right? Brutally honest in our answer. And again, there's no right or wrong. This isn't about guilt or shame. It's just about getting to a reality. Is it true? Is there a way for you to know that it's absolutely true? Question number 3 is, how does that thought make me react? How does that thought make me react? And that reaction might be something that happens verbally, or something that happens visually or publicly, or that reaction might be something that's completely internal that maybe others can't even see. Maybe your reaction is, it makes you feel nervous. Maybe it makes you feel depressed. Maybe it makes you tense up. Maybe it makes you shut down. Maybe it makes you scared. Maybe it makes you mad. Maybe it makes you frustrated, right? A reaction, we're getting to the feeling layer, right? What sort of feeling does that thought elicit, right, in your body, trigger in your nervous system? And so often we get stuck in these cycles where we have a thought and it creates a response, and we get stuck in that loop over and over and over again, that it becomes our normal. And we forgot that that's not the way that you're designed to feel. You're meant to feel. You need to feel. And it slips into, that is now our reality, and we never go back and realize that, no, it's just from the thought or the story, right? The perspective that we continue to tell ourselves. We got to interrupt that. And that's what these questions, right, are doing. So how does that thought make you react, right? Make you respond? And again, you got to be brutally honest with yourself. And then the last question, a really, really powerful one, question number 4, is, who would I be without that thought? Who would I be without that thought? Talk about an empowering question, right? When all of a sudden you're true with yourself that, hey, this thought has some sort of power or control over the way that you feel. And all of a sudden you ask yourself the question, who would I be without that thought? Who would I be without that trigger or feeling? And again, we're able to answer with ourselves. I thought those questions were really simple and kind of intuitive. Matter of fact, I can remember them after just hearing them a couple times. And I'm willing to bet if you guys repeat them in your head right now, you're going to remember these questions. Maybe you jot them down in your notebook or your notes. But is it true? How can I know that it's absolutely true? How does that thought make me react? Who would I be without that thought? And some of you guys might say, can that really interrupt a pattern? Yes. And I'll give you a couple examples. I'm going to make these up from the top of my head and just kind of give you an example of how this could work and do a little internal role playing. We'll pick kind of a silly one. Let's say for those of us that are parents out there, right? And maybe we have kids in the house. Let's say that you're a parent that gets really frustrated when your kids leave their socks on the floor. I know that never happens probably in your household, right? Or any number of toys all over the place. But let's run with the story of, man, I hate it when my kids leave the socks all over the floor, right? My kids always leave the socks, all over the floor. Why do they have to leave their socks all over the floor? We need to pick up our socks, right? My kids need to put the socks away. Maybe these are the conversations that we have or some variation. And you stop for a second and you want to run the sequence of questions. Is it true? I'm going to ask myself, is it true that in this scenario, my kids leave their socks all over the floor all the time? And in this scenario, let's say, yeah, it's true. Do I know that it's absolutely true? In this scenario, yeah, most of the time. Not all of the time, but most of the time, right? They leave their socks all over the floor. How does that make me feel? Well, it makes me feel angry. It makes me feel mad. It makes me feel like my kids aren't listening to me, right? It makes me feel like I'm not a good parent. It makes me feel like I'm not in control. All of these feelings that end up coming out when you ask yourself, well, why do socks on the floor? How does that really make you feel? Who would I be if I didn't have that thought? Well, if I didn't have that thought, I probably wouldn't raise my voice. If I didn't have my thought, I probably wouldn't get overly upset. If I didn't have that thought, I probably wouldn't be screaming at my kids. If I didn't have that thought, right, maybe I'd end up being a better parent. If I didn't have that thought, maybe I'd end up being less frustrated. Maybe I ended up being a happier person. Maybe I would give up trying to control all of it and just realize that they're going to leave their socks right on the floor. And you get to the point in that story, well, maybe you realize that your peace, as in your peace of mind, your energy, right, your happiness is more important than your need to feel control in that moment or dominant in that moment. And maybe you decide to let go of that frustration. There's an example, right? So it's a silly example, right? And obviously this framework can be used for more maybe meaningful things, but that could be a real example. Like there could be something in your life that is such a little insignificant thing, but that little insignificant thing becomes a big thing for you, not because of the thing, but because of the meaning that you tie to that thing and how it makes you feel and the spiral that it puts you in, right? When you realize that that's not even necessarily true. It's not absolutely true. And you know what? Your peace, your happiness is worth more, right, than that feeling. And who you would be without that thought is a better, happier person. Let me give you another scenario, and I'm just making these up. And granted, I'm new to this framework, right? But I'm giving you examples so then you can play with it in your own mind. Let's talk about, let's go the attention route, right? So often we get stuck in scenarios where all of us, right, we're seeking approval or love or attention, whether it be from a spouse, right, or significant other, or, someone in the workforce or your job or career or your business, right, or a friend. We get stuck in these cycles. So let's say we get stuck in a scenario here where it's, so-and-so just never gives me any attention. They never give me any attention. Well, is that true? No, they never give me any attention. Well, is that true? Well, sometimes they give attention, but not enough attention. Well, is that true? Well, they give attention sometimes. Well, how can I know that's absolutely true? Well, I guess in my mind, they don't give me the attention that I want. Right? Maybe in their mind, they do give the attention that they think I need. Well, how does that make me feel? Well, it makes me feel frustrated. It makes me feel like I'm not enough. It makes me feel like I need their approval. It makes me feel, who would I be without that thought? Well, I'd be a more confident person. I'd be a happier person. I'd be somebody that maybe doesn't need somebody outside or external's approval or attention. Maybe I need to get to a point where I love myself, or I realize I am enough, or I appreciate the attention that I do get when they do give it. You guys get the gist, right? So I'll admit I'm new to the framework, right? But hopefully those examples give you some scenarios. And for those of you guys that like the framework and want to dig in more, the book is called Loving What Is. Byron Katie's the author. And it really takes those 4 questions, and most of it is actual just case studies and conversations going back and forth of how to apply, but in a relatable way, right? Some things are small things, some things are big things, but all things, right, are important in those scenarios, because any sort of thought that puts us into a state where we get an emotion that isn't benefiting us, that is limiting us, is not going to help us, and it's not going to help those around us. So anyway, was inspired by the framework and wanted to share the tool set with you. I'm always on the lookout for any sort of method or mindset or structure that can help people make the shift in any scenario. And I thought those 4 questions were 4 questions that I found value in, wanted to share with you and challenge you to play with that framework here this week. So if you get stuck in a scenario where a thought is limiting you, you need to make a shift, maybe pause and run those questions through your mind. Is it true? Be honest with yourself. How do you know, or can you know it's absolutely true? Be real with yourself. How does it make you react or respond? And who would you be without that thought? A shift framework today on this windy day in Southern California. So thank you guys for walking together. Obviously, past conversations you can catch on the podcast, Alive by Design. If you missed that 100th episode, definitely go check it out. Until the next time we walk together, hey, here's to having the awareness, right, and the ability to choose in any moment and make the shifts in our life that are best for us. Hopefully, you all have an amazing, amazing day, amazing week. Until the next time, take care.
Hey guys, one last thing. I'm super excited that this new podcast, Alive by Design, just went live. You see, I designed the show to bring you inspired thoughts and fascinating conversations with the world's most impactful people, to provide transformative principles and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. And I'd love for you to help me spread the word now. Simply subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on this platform right now. So if I've ever given you value, please do me this personal favor and go subscribe now. And if you found today's episode helpful in any way, make sure you share this with at least one friend today. You have the power right now to change someone's day. So send them a text message with a link to alivebydesign.com, or simply copy and paste the link right from this podcast platform. Who's one person you know right now that you want to see succeed, that you want to see grow, that you want to see feel more alive? Shoot them a text with your largest takeaway from today and be a light in their day. And if you were referred here by a friend, make sure you shoot them a text back and say thank you. I'd love to hear from you directly on what you got from today's podcast. So if you're up for it, drop by my Instagram @BlakeMallon and shoot me a DM. And as always, thank you for showing up. I'm grateful for you, and I hope our time together today in some small way helped you feel a little more alive. Until next time.